What's up, everybody? It's Soren Baker.
I'm Rahimi.
And today on The Great Debaters, talking little Beastie Boys, man, taking it all the way back to 86, Licensed to Ill. Get ready. Alright, Amir, so on today's Great Debaters, we're taking it back to one of the greatest rap albums that people don't talk about that much anymore, even though it's one of the best selling rap albums of all time. It's the Beastie Boys' Licensed to Ill. Amir, this came out in 1986, and at this time, there weren't that many rap albums even being released. There were a lot of songs coming out, single-wise. It was a singles market to a large degree. And I think really in 87, 88 is when we started getting the avalanche of rap albums. So this is like right kind of at that last stages of not many rap albums coming out. And this probably helped change it because it sold so well. It's extremely popular. And with 13 tracks, I'd say almost all of them are phenomenal in my opinion.
Dude.
This is one of the best rap albums. Like, it's amazing. So Amir, I know you listened to it a little later than the release date. So when you got to it, what did you know about the Beastie Boys? What did you heard, and what made you listen to Licensed to Ill?
At that time, Beastie Boys, they were the first white rappers that I'd heard aside from Eminem at that time. Because when I was growing up, Eminem was, the household name. Everyone knew Eminem. And I feel like that was the same thing with the Beastie Boys in the 80s. Probably everyone knew who the Beastie Boys were, and they had sold millions and millions of albums. And like you said, it kind of changed the game in that respect for how well they were selling. So, Beastie Boys, man. This album, this is also actually one of the first albums I had bought. This in Paul's Boutique, and I had also, off the strength of those two albums, I bought the Beastie Boys anthology, The Sounds of Science, which has like 40 tracks or 30 plus tracks on it. It's crazy. But this album, man, just, it is one of those albums that I had heard and I was like, is this, I know it's a rap album, but is it a rap album? Like, was it considered a rap album when it dropped, or was it just one of those things where it was kind of like a rap rock fusion? So that's kind of, when I was first listening to it, it kind of tricked me a little bit, because at that time I was really listening to like a lot of NWA and Wu-Tang and people like that who had more of like the clear rap sound. I don't know if that's the proper way to say it, but I'm sure you understand what I mean.
Well, I think at the time, because Rick Rubin produced it, and because a lot of Rick Rubin's production of this era had that they would either scratch or have guitars being played, the rock guitar. That's why a lot of people associate it with rock stuff. But as we're about to discuss, a lot of the other songs don't have that element. And even the ones that do, they're still like the heavy bass, and Rick Rubin with Run DMC and with LL Cool J in particular had that rock element on their songs too. That was more of a Rick Rubin thing than a Beastie Boys thing per se. So anyway, that being said, once you got into that album, what did you like? What songs really stood out to get us to our top 3 selections on Licensed to Ill, which is our debate?
It's a tough task, as like you said. It's like each song is pretty much great, phenomenal, whatever awesome word you want to throw on there, exactly. And for me, I think one of the ones that has to be in my top 3 is the New Style. That song is just, and one thing that's actually throughout this album, it's not just on the song, because it's really on most of the tracks here, is I love in this era, like we have similar to Run DMC, where it doesn't matter, like Mike D doesn't have to spit a full verse, MC doesn't have to spit a full verse, Adrock doesn't have to spit a full verse. They're literally just interjecting wherever they want. It's kind of like they're just all, they all are in the studio together, and it's like, I'll say this, you say that, and it's just so, the chemistry is so there. This is just, I don't want to say perfect, but it's like they were meant to all be in that group together and have all these bars with each other. So the New Style is just so dope, and it just has, it has so much influence, like even felt, Murs and Slug on that early Morning Tony track, they pay homage to the New Style in addition to other songs on that track. But the new style is crazy. It's got that amazing Far Side sample or Far Side takes way down the line with drop, and then the beat switches there too. It's just a lot of innovation on that track, in my opinion. And the Beastie Boys, they're just really like, they are who they are. And I just really like their attitude, and I think a lot of that is shown here on the new style.
Well, I agree. That's a phenomenal track, and one of the things that I love about it, and you mentioned that this is something that is a hallmark of this album, is the beat changes, and that is something that just always amazes me when you go back and listen to certain songs and certain producers in particular, certain artists, when they really employ that and do it well. To me, it just takes songs to a whole other level, because when you first listen to them, you're expecting, because you're so used to things just being loops and progressing, and then they are what they are. But then with this type of song, when it changes, man, it's just so amazing. Well, for a similar reason, I like Slow Ride for similar reasons. I don't know, man. It's just so hard to pick these three in particular, because the songs, there's so much about the different ones, and the energy throughout the whole album is immaculate. And I just like the beat changes in particular. So Slow Ride has multiple on there as well, and it's just, I don't know, man. It's just sometimes I get so caught up in the production side of things that it's not that the lyrics and the delivery and all that stuff is secondary, but the beat to me is always the foundation of what goes on with every song. And then when the styles and everything complement it and work well, it just takes off for me.
So one lyric that I didn't mention that I really like on the new style, since you just mentioned lyrics, one that stuck out to me and just it's so funny in like the Beastie Boys nature, is they had one where they said, I like my girls underage, and he says like, I like your girlfriend or whatever, and I'll steal your girl like I stole your bike. It's right. Like it's just so funny, and it's like kind of gimmicky. It's just like, what are they saying? But it's just so good, and it's so like very college.
Well, it's very sophomoric humor, and that's because from everything I know, that's what they were going through, and that's how they lived at the time. So, and it was created in part, at least maybe, in Rick Rubin's college dorm room. So there's a lot to be said for all that, and it's just funny that type of other than the potential illegality of certain things, the kind of just like the fun and the happy-go-lucky, carefree atmosphere of it, other than the illegal things they talk about, it's kind of cool, because rap is so like tough and hardcore and posturing, and even on this album they talk a lot about having guns and shooting people and all this other stuff, even though we don't consider them tough guys, and I think that was purely more fantasy / entertainment. But just kind of that free-for-all, lighthearted adventure, fun type of stuff. So that being said, before we start getting into other things, what's your number 2 one?
So speaking of like the happy-go-lucky, having fun, one song that maybe you don't think this would be in my top 3, but you gotta fight for your right to party, man. Okay. That one, the music video is freaking awesome with the pie and the just the party going on, and the parents leave, and it's like, then the Beastie Boys show up, and obviously you know what happens. But it's such a fun track, man. It's just so fun, and it's just, that's what I'm saying, like in a song like this, it's like rock and rap, and it's like a perfect fusion of both.
Right.
And that's just one song that I remember just sticking out. And that was probably one of the first music videos that I'd seen. And I remember actually seeing that on TV, not when it came out obviously, but it was like a VH1 throwback or MTV throwback just so many years ago, and I remember just loving that song. And that was probably one of the main reasons why I bought this album, in addition to just starting to love rap at the time. But man, that song just has a lot of nostalgia, and it's just awesome.
Alright, well, that's not one of my selections, so we'll get into another one of mine, which is Brass Monkey. That one, is, again, the beat is just astonishingly awesome on that one. And I just remember people, I have no idea ultimately what Brass Monkey is per se, but it was just one of those things. It was kind of a weird song title, a weird thing that they were talking about, but then at the same time, the beat, it just was so hard. And I was just like, man, it just sounded so good. And, it was just one of those times early on in rap, everything was very literal, like you knew what they were talking about to a large degree. Up until 86, it wasn't this super coded slang stuff that we started getting a little bit later. So to hear a Brass Monkey where I had no idea what they were talking about at the time, that was pretty cool. And then the beat is just so crazy and catchy and astounding.
Yeah.
So that's number 2. What's number 3 for you?
That chorus too. Oof.
Yes.
So I feel like this just has to be in the 3, and I would be shocked if it's not in your 3. We've never talked about the Beastie Boys really. Like, we've talked about them sometimes. So I really don't know Soren's opinion on these songs. This is my first time hearing it too, so this is all shocking to me. But Paul Revere, man, for me it has to be up there. That beat is just, talking about production. That beat to me is crazy. And there's some people, I've seen some stuff about Rick Rubin producing it, but then Rick Rubin says that it was one of the Beastie, I forget which Beastie Boys member it was, to play it in reverse or basically mess with the beat, or what do they do, flip the tape over, whatever it was, and make the beat. Apparently it was one of the Beastie members. And yeah, dude, just that beat is just crazy, dude. That beat is nuts. Apparently also Run from Run DMC, he's the one who came up with the opening line. Here's a little story I got to tell. And just the story in itself of, essentially, it's completely fictional, but how they met, and the horse is named Paul Revere, and then, he's, I forget which BC member was thirsty, and then he was gonna rob him with the gun, and they end up going to a bar, and then they meet the other Beastie member, and it's just like, what the hell is going on? But it's just so dope. And then they all meet each other, and then they end up being friends, and the newest Beastie member punches the guy in the piano, and he's out cold. And then just the ending line to the song, I grabbed 2 girlies and a beer that's cold. Like, things like that are just, they're probably not even, I don't know if they're thinking it's that iconic when they're writing it, but now, like, years later, those are just such amazing lines that hold up to today, and you're like, what were they thinking when they wrote this? Good and question. It's just so good. Like, it's so good. So that's just, that beat is crazy. The story is dope. The story behind how the song came together is awesome, and it's just one of those songs that I think, especially that instrumental, is just one of the top instrumentals in hip-hop for me. So it's just all bases loaded on that one.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. That's definitely one of my top 3 songs, Paul Revere, for all the things that you mentioned. And then also again, rap had very much up till 1986 focused on reality, things that were happening, or talking about the DJ, talking about the rapper, talking about clothes, talking about these types of things. And as Amir was saying, this fictitious story that was so wild, and a horse and all this, like, what is going on? But the beat is so mesmerizing and so unorthodox, especially for at the time, that it was so striking. And then with Run and DMC in particular, chipping in on the writing side, helping it to whatever other degrees in addition to what Amir mentioned, helping to make it great. And then just the sounds, the scratching, and the pauses, and like Amir had said earlier in this video, this is another one of those where they just really, they did it throughout much of the album, but it was just so much like back and forth, chipping in, doing parts. It's just amazing, man, how they put it together. And when you have other rap groups, it was much more, this dude does this verse, or we do a line or 2 each. But this is, throughout the whole album, License to Ill, it's just, you can't tell, like, what's going to happen. And that type of unexpectedness, I think, adds so much to the album, and Paul Revere being on the second half of the album adds to that too. Like, whoa, what is going on here? And it's just amazing.
And why'd they name the horse Paul Revere? Why is a song named Paul Revere? And it has nothing to do with the actual Paul Revere that people know and talk about. So it's just like, there's just so many things, like what and whose idea was this, and why did they think this would work? And it all worked. It's just crazy. It's just one of those things, man. It's one of those things.
Well, those are my 3 and Amir's 3, but what do you guys think? Make sure to hit us up in the comment section to like, subscribe, share. And, Amir's got his Rappin' and Snackin' shirt on. We both got shirts. Please make sure to support those. Unique Access and Rappin' and Snackin'. And tell your friends, hit us up in the comment section. Let us know what your favorite 3 tracks are on Beastie Boys' Licensed to Ill. I'm Soren Baker.
Amir Rahimi.
The Great Debaters, y'all.
Be sure to check out the History of Gangster Rap by Soren Baker. He's official.
History of Gangster Rap features exclusive interviews with Ice-T, Snoop Dogg, MC Ren, the DOC, and dozens of others. The History of Gangster Rap, a definitive look at how Los Angeles changed rap forever.
In Los Angeles, the streets definitely set the tone of the hip-hop music.
At 19, I got a $50,000 car.
My whole angle always was, I'll be street, but I will always tell you the horrors that go along with this life.
There will be penalties and casualties for just wearing the wrong color in somebody's neighborhood.
And once gangster rap made it from the streets to the TV, the genre exploded.
With Fab 5 on Yo MTV back with NWA.
Yo MTV, it just catapulted us from being local heroes to national gangbang rappers.
The History of Gangster Rap discusses it all from 1980 up till today.
It's always gonna be shit happening in the streets. You know what I mean? So it's always gonna be something to talk about.
The History of Gangster Rap in stores now.